Trump's state visit is mired with potential pitfalls despite careful planning. U.S. President Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom this week will be no stranger to controversy, just as his first was 6 years ago. Back then, in June 2019, as well as taking tea with the late Queen, the U.S. president called London Mayor Sadiq Khan a stone-cold loser, backed Boris Johnson in a Tory leadership race, and suggested the NHS should be part of US-UK trade talks. All this was accompanied by a petition saying he should not receive a state visit in the UK, signed by more than 1 million people, as well as noisy protests involving thousands and a huge inflatable effigy that became known as the Trump baby. This week's second state visit, unprecedented for a non-royal, will prove the first was no exception. There will again be protests, and Lord Mandelson's sacking as UK ambassador to the US has already cast a diplomatic pall over proceedings. Planning for the visit, over Wednesday and Thursday, has gone on for months, but for all the careful preparation, the possibility that things could go wrong is still very real. And for many of those organizing it, the Mandelson affair is only one of their worries. How Windsor became Trumpton. For those at the royal end of the show, the focus has been on logistics and security, and turning Windsor Castle into a ring of steel hard enough to satisfy even the most fastidious Secret Service agents. Such has been the huge American presence some locals have renamed Windsor Trumpton, after the eponymous town in the 1970s children's TV show. For palace officials, attention to detail is all. One of the biggest problems has been finding a place to muster the household cavalry. It needs to be far enough from the helicopter landing zones to ensure the horses are not spooked by the noise, close enough to form the escort quickly that will accompany the Trump's carriage procession through the grounds of Windsor Castle. There has also been much discussion between the palace and Foreign Office over who sits where at the state banquet in St. George's Hall. The value of these things are not just the photo opportunities, but also all the off-grid conversations, said one royal insider. A huge amount of attention goes into the seating plan for the banquet, so people with certain policy areas are sat next to one another. Much thought, too, is devoted to the menu and the music, which will involve lots of nods to his Scottish heritage. King Charles III's 7-minute speech at the banquet has gone through many drafts, ensuring he pushes the right buttons without crossing political lines. Officials say they have been given no indication by their U.S. counterparts of what Trump may say in his speech. Pressure to make this massive, so far, so logistical, but the key challenge for royal organizers has been finding a way of ensuring Trump feels he has been given a full state visit with all the trimmings. That is no easy task. The president is on the ground for less than 48 hours and will not visit Downing Street, address Parliament, or even find time to play a round of golf. There has been a large amount of government pressure to make this massive, and that's been the challenge, one courtier told me. The scale of the ceremonial at Windsor has been stepped up, with 1,300 troops and 120 horses involved. Far more than those used when President Macron of France visited earlier this year. It's a point that will no doubt be emphasized to the Americans in private. For the ceremonial hoopla is the overwhelming focus of the White House in this visit. A chance for the president to be photographed with the King and Queen and the Prince and Princess of Wales, along with military parades and bands and the Red Arrows. One Whitehall source said, "The focus is very much on the optics, the historic moment, the pomp. For Trump, it's all about TV, and this is great TV." Another said, "It's theater. It's all show. It's not like we are going to do deep substance. We are sucking up to the most powerful guy in the world for good reason, the Trumps, warm and solicitous guests." Lord MacDonald, a former top civil servant in the Foreign Office, said the UK's strategic choice to afford the most powerful man in the world, the fullest honor British protocol allows, will be watched closely by the rest of the world. This state visit is not just a UK-US event, he said. It will be one of the biggest stories around the world. The rest of the world will be looking at London and Windsor, burnishing the UK's wider international standing. Many officials are confident the visit will go smoothly, simply because all sides want it to succeed. They emphasize that palace staff thought the Trumps were warm and solicitous guests in 2019, both keen not to put a foot wrong. Trump can be quite funny in private, said one diplomat. He has got quite a neat turn of phrase that the king will appreciate. For the UK government, the overwhelming aim is for Air Force One to take off on Thursday evening, with Trump warmly disposed to Britain. Serious business behind the pageantry. Beyond providing a day of royal pageantry, the government has business to conduct on Thursday when proceedings move to the Prime Minister's country residence at Chequers. Ministers hope to complete a deal to exclude UK steel and aluminium from US tariffs. There will be some new civil nuclear cooperation. The centerpiece is set to be the signing of a technology partnership involving new investment in Britain and greater cooperation with Silicon Valley on artificial intelligence and quantum computing. This was Lord Mandelson's priority, something he described in his outgoing letter to embassy staff last week as my personal pride and joy, that he claimed would help write the next chapter of the special relationship. All these issues will be portrayed as big domestic wins to help promote the government's growth agenda. The visit will also provide Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer with a significant opportunity to bend the ear of the president just a week before the United Nations General Assembly in New York, especially on Ukraine. Jeremy Hunt, who as Foreign Secretary was heavily involved in the last Trump state visit, said this was a key chance to shape the president's thinking. Trump appears to be on a journey away from Putin, towards recognizing that he needs a way of standing with his European allies a bit better, Hunt said. What the government will really be wanting to do is continue that journey, looking for a deal to impose more sanctions on countries buying Russian oil. Sophia Gaston, senior research fellow at King's College London, said the state visit was an important chance for the UK to influence US policy at a crucial stage of the Trump administration. A window of opportunity between its disruptive first 6 months and next year, when its focus may shift to domestic elections and strategic competition with China. We are moving into a new phase, she said. This state visit really does matter. It is about us securing a foothold as the primary symbolic and strategic ally of the United States. The Mandelson question. For all these potential gains, the risks are huge, and the most obvious involves, of course, Lord Mandelson. The peer's dismissal as ambassador, after revelations of the scale of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, following Epstein's conviction as a pedophile, means the press conference at Chequers on Thursday will not be dominated by questions about his future. Instead, the Prime Minister will likely be asked why he appointed the peer in the first place and why he took so long to sack him. What did he know and when? Some diplomats wonder if Trump may voice an opinion about who should replace Lord Mandelson, potentially putting No. 10 in an invidious position. But perhaps the most dangerous question for the Prime Minister may be why he thinks Lord Mandelson should be punished for his links to Epstein, but not the U.S. president standing next to him. According to Whitehall sources, this was a point Lord Mandelson deployed as he fought to save his job. It was not an argument that found favor in No. 10, and officials note Trump, unlike Lord Mandelson, cut ties with Epstein well before his conviction. But it is a question that will float above this week's royal and political ceremonial. Diplomats I have spoken to insist that so far the White House has been sanguine, if not a little bemused, at Lord Mandelson's departure, saying it is the UK's business, and the president remains excited about the state visit. But there is a fear among some that if Trump were dragged into the controversy and embarrassed at the press conference, then that could sour his mood and the visit. Profound differences in the UK and US. The Mandelson affair is not the only potential challenge. As one distinguished former British ambassador told me, on values and policies, we have fundamental differences with the Trump administration. On NATO, Ukraine, Middle East, and China, the differences are more profound than at any time since World War II. Perhaps the most acute difference that could overshadow the visit relates to the Middle East. Next week, the UK is expected to formally recognize Palestinian statehood in an attempt to keep alive the idea of a so-called two-state solution. But the Americans are strongly opposed, as the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, made clear on Friday, emphasizing his commitment to fight anti-Israel actions, including unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state that rewards Hamas terrorism. There are also political risks for the Prime Minister. Underlying this state visit is an unspoken transaction, that it is worth giving Trump all those trimmings in order to help British interests.